Okay, well, good morning, 7th graders. I hope you are doing well. Again, today we are in Chapter 11 review. Okay, and this is our last review day. And tomorrow I will be posting the test so that you will have it and then you'll work on it. And that's the last thing that you'll have for 7th grade math. So well done, you're hanging in there. I know sometimes it's hard and frustrating, but keep going. You're almost done with online schooling. So we're going to continue the review. So let's just do a practice problem here. If we have negative 13 plus 22, all in parentheses, plus a negative 19. Okay, what we need to do first is I look at this one and I say it has a negative sign and a positive sign. So that means I'm going to subtract, right? One negative, one positive, always subtract. So 22 minus 13, which is 9. And then I look and say the sign of the 22, which is the bigger one, is positive. So it's going to be plus 9. So I get 9 plus a negative 19. If you remember how I told you to rewrite this, right? A plus and a minus turn into one big minus. So again, here's a positive, here's a negative. So there's my positive, there's my negative. So I subtract again, 19 minus 9, which is 10. Then I say, which one has the bigger? Well, the negative is in front of the 19 is bigger. So the answer is negative 10. Okay? So your review problems are going to look like something like that when it comes to adding and subtracting. I'm going to do one more adding and subtracting, then go get into some multiplying and dividing here. Let's say they give us something like this, negative 4 minus a negative 4 plus a negative 4. Okay, lots of negative 4s going on, so let's do this one step at a time. So I look at these two negatives, and they become a positive. Okay, now I have negative 4 plus 4. Okay, negative 4 plus 4. Well, as you can see, if I'm in the whole 4, but then I pay back 4, that's going to equal 0. So now I have 0 plus a negative 4. What do I do when I have a plus a negative? It becomes one big minus. So I have 0 minus 4. So I do this with 4 minus 0, which is 4. But which one is the negative connected to? The 4. So the negative is bigger, and the answer to that problem would be negative 4. Okay, not too hard. You guys got it. Go for it. Now, when we're multiplying or dividing, right, if we have negative 5 times 9, okay, we have one negative, and we have just one. This guy right here, this one negative, is going to make the overall answer negative 45. If we have 5 times 9, everybody knows that one, right? That's just 45. Then the more tricky one, negative 5 times negative 9, becomes back to positive 45 because of those two, remember, become plus. When you have the two negatives multiplied together, you get a final answer of 45. Okay, so if you have something that's the same way in dividing, so if you have 72 divided by 8, right, that equals 9. If you have negative 72 divided by 8, that's negative 9. Why? Because I had that one negative sign. Now, if you have negative 72 divided by negative 8, you're going to go back to positive 9. Why? Because you had 1, 2. And what happens when you have 2? They become plus signs every single time. Okay, so the homework that you're going to do is really going to work. Okay, so that's important. That's easy, though. Everybody can do that one. So now it's when they give you one that has multiple steps. So let's do this one. Negative 24 divided by 4, in parentheses, times 18 divided by negative 3. Okay, so now we got to do what's in parentheses first. So what is negative 24 divided by 4? Now we got one negative, so the answer is going to be negative. And 24 divided by 4 is 6. So I got negative 6. Negative 6 times, now I do 18. There's one positive and again one negative. So I know it's going to be negative because there's one of them. 18 divided by 3 is also 6. So we have this right here, negative 6 times negative 6. Now, 6 times 6 is 36, right? That's 6 times 6 is 36. But let's look at the signs. We got a negative and a negative. What happens when we have two negatives? Becomes positive. So our final answer is simply positive 36. Okay, so that's just using the order of operations and then going into it. Then the homework gets a little more complicated in the review when you do a little bit more of order of operations. So this will be kind of like 1. We have -4 plus, and then in brackets here, whoa, not to 5, in brackets, -5 times -6, and then end of brackets divided by 3. Okay, so the first step is to do what's in the brackets. So what is -5 times -6? So -4 stays, and I do plus what is -5 times -6. Well, that's positive 30. Why is that positive 30? Because you have a negative and a negative, and so when those two get together, they become a positive. Then we have that divided by 3. Now the temptation is to do this first, the plus, but we can't do that first because order operation says to do the division and multiplication before the addition and subtraction. So what is 30 divided by 3? Well, that's 10. So we have -4 plus 10. Now I come here, I say here's a positive and a negative, so what am I always going to do? I'm going to subtract because they're different. 10 minus 4 is 6. Which one is bigger? The 4 is smaller, 10 is bigger, so that's a plus. So the answer is just going to be 6. Okay, that is our final answer, is 6 on a problem like that. Okay, and then let's do another harder one here, and we're almost done with the review. So 16 minus 3, sorry, minus a -3, all of that times 8 plus the square root of 14 plus a -5. Okay, that is complicated. They're trying to confuse you, right? So let's do this step and what's in here together. So the 16 minus stays, minus, what is -3 times 8? Well, that's -24. Plus, what is 14? Remember, plus and minus becomes one big minus. 14 minus 5 is 9, so plus the square root of 9. Now, I come here, and I say those become one giant plus, right? The minus minus. So I do 24 plus 16, which is 40. So I have 40 plus, and then I say, what is the square root of 9? The square root of 9 is 3. So 40 plus 3 then, as my total answer, is 43. Okay, so it's just one step at a time, doing the things that we learned. Not too hard. You guys got it. I believe in you. Really, really straightforward. The only other thing left is when we fill in the blanks. Okay, so if you have something like this, they say -9 times 8 plus blank is equal to -9 times 8 plus -9 times 7. Okay, this is the distributive property. Remember how this 9 is going to go multiply to there and there. So in this case, we had the 9 times 8, so there we go. But then -9 times 7, so we know the answer is going to be this 7 is also right there. Okay, or if we have something like 5 plus 0, and it says, what does that equal? That equals 5, right? That's very straightforward, not very hard. Or if we have something like this, 7 times something equals 0. How would we get it to equal 0? We'd have to multiply by 0, and that would be our answer, would be 0 times 7 is 0. Or if we had something that looked like this, 1 over 3 equals, 1 over 3 times something over 1 equals 1, the answer would be 3, because we would want this times this, which would be 3, this times this, which would also be 3, and 3 over 3 is 1, which is our final answer. So whenever something looks like this, it's just the inverse, right? The 3 goes to the top, the 1 goes to the bottom. So let me erase those arrows, do that again. So we have something like this, the 1 goes to the bottom, the 3 goes to the top. Or if it was something like, one in your homework I think will look like 1 over the square root of 13 times what over 1? Well, you just take this guy and put him up here, and there's your answer, the square root of 13 over 1. So this whole thing now would be your answer, the square root of 13 over 1. Okay? So really straightforward, not too bad. I believe you guys are going to do well. I'll send the test out for tomorrow. So this is, this is that was our last lesson. So last homework of the year. Isn't that fun to say? Last homework of the year is page 516, and it is a fewer problems, 23 through 45 odd. Okay, key part that it's odd. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our last homework of the year before our final test. Okay, Mr. H misses you all, and I'm over and out.